archaeology. Get out of there, Dan.
I'm getting a little click out of your side.
Really? Yeah.
You live?
Mm-hmm. Just going through the... Whew, alrighty, we're back, finally.
Okay. Well, everyone, welcome to episode, what did I say, 10?
Yes.
Episode 10 of You Call This Archaeology. This is the show where we basically talk about our week and we try to say those mundane things that we did is actually archaeology.
Somewhat.
If you're listening to this on Facebook, welcome. Please join in and give us your questions. We'll be monitoring the chat as best we can.
Yeah.
And give us your questions on that. And also, if you're on... if you're listening to the audio of this, feel free to send in questions anytime to Chris at archaeologypodcastnetwork.com. And...
oh my god, such a long title. But, let's see, you can find my email address through my Happy Archaeology Fun Time page. Usually it's in the description of each video. In fact, it is in the description of each video.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Okay, so... Right, yeah, we've got the comments up. And so first, I want to say, apologize to our audience, but we said this was probably going to happen anyway, that we didn't actually come out on Friday. And the reason for that is because, well, you call this archaeology, because I was I was at a conference that was not related to archaeology in Anaheim, California. Actually right outside the gates of Disneyland, basically.
Really? So, were you at like a downtown Disney, actually?
No, we weren't at downtown Disney, but downtown Disney, like the official downtown Disney, was maybe half a mile north.
Oh, that's actually, well, I mean, it's a bit of a ways. No.
Yeah, I was technically in Garden Grove. The street up from me where my Airbnb was Anaheim. So I was right on the edge of Garden Grove in Anaheim, and then the hotel the conference was at a Marriott, which is at the Anaheim Convention Center. There's a Hilton and a Marriott right next to each other in the massive Anaheim Convention Center.
Yeah.
Right just south of the gates of the street basically that borders Disneyland. So yeah.
Wait, oh my god, it's so crazy down there.
Yeah.
Because literally you go one block and it looks like exactly the same city, but you're in a completely different city.
I know. It's crazy. And I didn't get a chance to go to Disneyland. So, while I share this out to some other groups, why don't you tell us some stuff about what you did this week?
Oh my god, well, my job search continues. It's actually what I wanted to talk about, first off. But, let's see, first off, let me say that, you know, when I was doing archaeology, I was using one program to keep everything straight, Evernote. I'm not sure if anyone remembers Evernote. It seemed like at one point everyone was using that. But I did the painful thing and switched everything over to Keep, Google Keep. And it was painful because I had to move all my notes and all my notebooks one at a time. And Google Keep isn't as fully featured, but it is cross-platform and handy and free. Because I think that's the one thing that pissed everyone off about Evernote. I forget what what the subscription model is, but I know there's a device limit now, which really pisses a lot of people off. Pissed me off. Because I've got like a lot of computers and devices, and it's like you can't use it on everything now. It's like, only use it on this device or this devices, and now it's $20 a month, and it's like, no, I'm not doing that at all.
Nice.
So I went to Google Keep. Take that, Evernote. Although I have to admit, Google Keep is not as awesome. It's like the little things that annoy me.
Yeah.
Well, what was I thinking? One of those weird things. Obviously, we don't have the Google Keep up here right now, but there are little notes in there, and you can't move them. They're all arranged chronologically, so what you have to do is, like, if you want them to appear at the top of your, like, little screen, you have to unpin them and then pin them in the order you want, which is very tedious. I also realized, my god, like, every morning this week, I would get up, and I would turn on my computer, and I would look for job listings, and I was completely shocked at how many job listings there are every day, like, and just here in Reno. Like, about 400 or 500 jobs.
No, you don't mean archaeology job listings.
No.
You mean all job listings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm constantly seeing jobs available for things around, which is actually good for CRM archaeologists, especially as we lead into fall and projects start to dry up, things like that, you know. I love saying that we're leading into fall, by the way. I freaking hate summer. Real quick, Ryan Gersner, who I saw
Ooh.
just yesterday. Was that yesterday? No, Friday, which I saw
Really?
Friday. Working with he's working with Alan Gold now.
Oh, really?
I saw Ryan, so thanks for joining, Ryan. Send in your questions or rants, and we'll talk about them.
But I do think that leads into something.
Yeah.
Well, it leads in the fact that when most students are trying to get into archaeology, they don't realize, especially if they've had a regular job, how few listings are out there. Like, in a good week, what would you say? Like, there are, like, what, maybe 1 or 2 new job listings across all the various archaeology boards?
I don't know. I get the daily email from Shovel Bums, and it doesn't always come. It doesn't come every day unless there's a posting.
See?
The day before. So, it's I don't know. I would say honestly, I think there's maybe 5 or 6 per week that are decent, at least this time of year, and it's going to start slowing down.
Yeah.
That being said, there are cycles where government funding comes in, and we just ended one of the ones in the end of July where they get a new round of funding on like July 1st, and then new projects RFQs come out, requests for quotes, and then they could people could win these projects and have to start them in the late fall. So there's kind of another little bump.
Yeah.
That being said, the impending possible government shutdown will put an end to all that. So if the government shuts down on September 30th because they can't come to a budget, funding for all those projects, unless they're absolutely necessary, will probably come to a halt.
Well, of course. Mr. Trump is busy pardoning all his friends.
Right. If only it was good for us in that, if it all shut down because he wanted to pay for the wall, if only he wasn't waiving all the regulations that would cause us to have lots of work on that wall.
True.
But it sounds like they're just going to bring bulldozers in and call it good.
Oh, my God.
So.
But, I gotta keep wanting to go on with this, but
Yeah.
the thing is that students don't realize that that's the reason why we emphasize, like, make your resume good, reach out at conferences and stuff, because you're literally chasing, like, maybe 3 dozen positions each week, and there are thousands, tens of thousands of people looking, and you have to be able to rise to the top.
Yeah.
It's just like you're never going to break in if, like, you take the kind of casual sort of, like, route.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. Hey, we're up to like 8 viewers. I shared it out to a lot of different groups. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Welcome to people who aren't familiar with the Archaeology Podcast Network.
Or maybe it's because it's the weekend.
It might be.
Oh my God. Do you think we should wait?
Doing this at 3 p.m. on a Friday might not be the best plan.
Well, or, doing it in the morning on a Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So.
Or it might just be coincidental.
It might be.
Because causation doesn't necessarily equal correlation.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
True story.
Unless you're a climate denier.
That's right.
Or a flat earther.
That's right.
You know what I learned, by the way? I was reading an article about flat earthers, and apparently we don't live on a globe. We live in a bowl.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, at least they're getting rounder. Are they slightly curved earthers now?
I guess that. Oh my God! You didn't think about that.
They had to explain the eclipse somehow, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's not a bowl. It's a turtle shell. You know that, right?
Oh yes, and we're walking, and he's like on Atlas's back. Oh my God!
Nice.
Just thinking about it.
Hey, Rocky Brockway joined.
Hello
Rocky's here in Reno.
Really?
So, yeah. I worked with him at a company that's been here for a long time.
Ooh.
So he's still there, at least as far as I know.
And what you were speaking about with MBAs, it actually made me think about the job I just applied to last night.
Yeah?
Yeah, at a bank.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I was thinking, because I was looking at various jobs, and I was thinking, how can I relate? Because it's like one of those things where you have to figure out, if you don't have experience in the public, regular person sector, you kind of have to link up your archaeology experience with the experiences, like with what they're looking for. It's like explaining how your archaeology relates to them.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was also thinking, how can that job relate back to archaeology? I was thinking, man, maybe if I get this banking job and then I get an MBA, I can go into a CRM firm and doing something else.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because like, how many of us have business training and stuff like that?
Right. Not a lot. And what Richie's actually referring to, and by the way, as our listeners climb a little bit here and vary, if you have any questions for us, write them in the comments.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. Anything related to cultural resource management or archaeology in general or whatever, we'll see what we can do and we'll discuss it. But what Richie's referring to is we were having a discussion right as he walked in. I was recording episode 118 of the CRM Archaeology podcast, and we were talking about low bidding. And anybody who's on here that's familiar with CRM Archaeology knows exactly what I'm talking about. And we were talking about it necessarily from a negative standpoint. We were trying to look at all viewpoints to low bidding. So that's what he's referring to on that. Because we were talking about having business owners be actual business credential. So shocker, why would you do that? But yeah. So anyway, have you had any bites on any of these jobs?
Well, I literally just started.
Yeah.
Like literally just started.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the way I'm doing it is the same way I do it with archaeology. I like get a list of companies, and then I'm like, I actually created a spreadsheet of companies I want to apply for and stuff like that. And companies I have to research more and stuff like that.
Well, what you're talking about too, and this will really apply to people who are field archaeologists who are coming up to a dry spell, because of weather or whatever. If you're a Southeast Texas archaeologist, then you're definitely looking for something else to do right now, aren't you?
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's weird because I've had two things in the last 48 hours that have been as a direct result of me being an archaeologist, but would lead me completely away from archaeology as a skill set.
Really?
Yeah, and one of those things is actually flying a drone. Now I've been a licensed, or I should stop saying license. I say that because people know what that means. But certificated pilot. It's actually not a license. It's a pilot certificate.
Really?
And real hardcore people will get on you for that. Like you're a certificated pilot. You're not a licensed pilot. It's actually,
there's a difference?
Yeah, the license and certificates are different things, and it's just terminology. The FAA calls it a certificate. So it's not a license, but people call it a pilot's license because they call them things driver's licenses. That's actually a license.
Yeah.
But you have a certificate that says you can fly. I honestly don't know what the strict definition difference is. That being said, they didn't give me a certificate of achievement. You are now a pilot. But anyway, hey, Josh Bauer joined.
Oh
nice.
My God, Josh, what's up? How's Florida?
Yeah. Hopefully he's staying dry. Have somebody traveling to Florida that I know just today to go to Disney World in Orlando in August, and I said,
Wait,
you're a psychopath.
Not Harry Potter World or whatever that is?
She said her kid's not into Harry Potter, so they're going to
Universal
Studios actually.
Wait, that's where Harry Potter World
well,
is?
I know. So anyway, one of the things I did that was kind of related. I didn't get paid for this. I did it for a friend as because I was going to already be down there.
Yeah.
But I actually did some drone photography for a Hollywood film that's coming out in probably January. And, they already finished principal photography on it, but it was just, one of the producers is the friend of mine who's up here, and his director and co-producer is down in LA. And I was like, I'm driving down, and I went down a day early this last week, and then I went back over to LA Friday night to finish up some stuff. But I took I took the drone that I have, and we got this when I was with Codify for use in archaeology.
Yeah.
And doing photogrammetry and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
that helped enhance my drone flying skills, because I'd flown drones before. I wasn't a stranger to it when we got this, so I already had some.
You had your Parrot, right?
Yeah, I had a Parrot drone, 2.0 AR Parrot drone 2.0, which is it's a decent for size, but it's still a little underpowered, so it's actually kind of hard to fly in the wind, which increases your skill level on figuring out how to fight that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've flown smaller ones as well. Plus, understanding, just flying characteristics helps when you're trying to learn how to fly a drone.
Huh.
So anyway, I took those skills, and I did some. Now he needed night shots and stuff, and there's a particular street where there's a commuter train that goes right down the middle of the street, and he needed a shot where the car was coming down the street, basically chasing the train, because there's somebody on the train and they're chasing the train. So we did this a few times, and it took all night. We started at probably 10 o'clock at night, and it took us till about 12:30 in the morning, because the train came every 20 minutes. So we'd have one chance to do the shot. I'd screw it up, or he'd screw it up. He'd be behind too many cars or something, and we'd have to do it again. But here's where my skill set had to change a little bit. I was used to archaeology, where we're filming a building or something like that to take images, and I'm moving the camera around trying to get different aspects, because I have camera control and I have drone control, right? Well, I wasn't used to the kind of shots that Hollywood wants, and he wanted to simulate a crane arm, so he wanted me to be starting down low and moving up like this, as an example, when he's coming into frame, and then moving constantly as he goes out of frame. So he's coming in like this, and I'm moving up and out like that to simulate like a big crane, like I'm doing this, like that, with like the drone is on a crane. So And Rocky's got a question we'll get to in a second.
Ooh.
But
wait, some versions of DJ I thought like programmed it in so that you could do like
it does.
Yeah.
It does, but I was reluctant to use those partly because of my lack of familiarity with exactly how they work.
Yeah.
I've used them before, but also we were in some really tight circumstances. There were power lines everywhere, trees everywhere. I didn't want to throw that thing into fully automatic mode at all. It was just too hard. But then some of the stuff we did was like downtown LA, like by then it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're doing these. He wanted me just up. So on one of the scenes, he's coming around a corner, and then I'm way up high, and I'm following the car coming down the street like this, and then he flipped a U-turn, and we did another one just so he could have those. But what's kind of in the foreground is a 3-deck parking garage,
neat,
loaded with cop cars.
Oh,
I'm like, where the hell are we? And it's like storage for all the police cars of LAPD. And I'm like, well, that's great. That's fantastic. So, anyway, the other one, real fast before we get to Rocky's question, is, and I think we'll do a break real quick.
Oh, really?
When we come into it. But the other one, real fast, is through the podcast network. So I started doing the podcast network as it relates to archaeology. Obviously, the Archaeology Podcast Network. Well, the conference I was at this last week was called Podcast Movement, and it was all about podcasting, and there was a lot of business trips and industry techniques and, vocal and mic techniques to use.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I brought my boom down here so I can be more on the mic. And
what does that mean?
Well, it's just getting into it, because this is a dynamic microphone, so the closer you are to it, the better it is, you know. And it's just, you just need to, if I'm back here, it sounds weird versus if I'm up here, and I have to consciously think about that. But stuff about monetization, which we want to do for the APN so we can keep it going, and just all kinds of things. But one of the guys I talked to is an audio engineer, runs a school called the Podcast Engineering School. If you're looking for a different skill set and you can afford his course, it's $2,500. But you'll be a certified audio engineer after that, and that's the kind of thing.
Neat.
There's people seeking podcast audio engineers right now, and all you need is a decent laptop and a $20 a month software, and people will send you their files. You edit them and process them and send them back, and you can do that from a hotel room.
Yeah, or I did it from my living room.
Richie did it from his living room. You could do it from anywhere that you have a laptop. So that's another one of those good skills. Now I'm going to take this course because for Podcast Movement attendees, he knocked it down to $995.
Neat.
And I'm just going to throw that on my credit card and hope for the best, because I can't afford it, but I'm thinking I'll be able to
pay it off.
I think I'll be able to pay it off because I'm teaching classes up here at the Reno Collective on doing that kind of thing. So since I'll be certified, I'll be able to pass on that knowledge and have people pay for that training. I won't be charging $2,500 for no big course, but I'll be doing little chunks of this. And
and a tax write-off too.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's all business. So, let's see.
Oh, so what was Rocky asking?
So Rocky's question. Well, let's take a real quick break, because I'm not sure on the time here. I think I screwed the time all up. Yeah, because it kind of reset actually. But I don't know. Who knows where we're at? But Richie's got some truncated time. He's actually got to go to work here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, I'll just make a quick plug for arcpodnet.com/members. Go check it out. We've got a number, actually, of members now, and we've got t-shirts coming in early next week that we're going to be sending to all of our pro subscribers. I recorded on Friday sort of an introductory, and it's introductory for professional level, about a 20-minute, basically guided PowerPoint with Dr. Alan Garfinkel Gold, who's a noted rock art expert in California, heads the California Rock Art Foundation. He's going to be doing one of our first courses that are going to be available to pro subscribers to the APN, so they can access that course anytime they want. And I'm going to go down probably to Bakersfield, where he lives, or Irvine, where he works, at some point in the next few weeks to record a whole bunch more sessions with him. So there'll be a world-class rock art training set of videos that you can take with you. You can do whatever you want with right on for APN Pro subscribers. And that's part of our learning content that's available for them. So, but we have other levels as well.
Which level do they get the coffee mug?
At the pro level. But you can buy a coffee mug for $16 right now on the APN website.
Neat.
And the reason I had to charge that much is because of shipping. I weighed it, and it was like 1.2 pounds for that friggin' mug. It's a stout coffee mug. It's not light. It's 18 ounces, I think. Yeah. So it's like 1.1 pounds, whatever it is.
Ooh, so it's more like a hot chocolate mug.
Yeah. Well, I love it for coffee. I should have brought one down, actually. All right, so anyway, Rocky's question, and again, thanks, Rocky, for joining us, and thanks to the other 8 or 9 people that are on here. Know of any university programs that address the need for business experience in CRM by including courses in their curriculum? A master's geared towards CRM should. Right, yes. And a master's degree should. And we're starting to see a lot more CRM programs that are focused around project management, budgets, things like that. I think the one up at Simon Fraser that they're starting has some stuff on that. I think, but I'm not sure, that the one over in Sonoma State, which is kind of the industry standard in the West for CRM master's programs, they talk about project management and budgeting and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So that's bringing in business aspects of it. I mean, it's not strictly business. Like, it's not like going through business courses and learning some of the fundamentals of business. It's business as it relates to CRM. But Rocky, I think you're totally right. We need specific business courses. Like when I got my master's degree, it was an archaeological resource management is what the thing was called.
Oh.
Why they didn't call it cultural resource management, I couldn't tell you. But so the ARM program rather than CRM program, which is stupid. It's gone now. They actually shut it down.
Because no one knew what it was.
No one knew what it was. So anyway, they required us to go take some like a law class at the law school, an environmental law, and I'm like, why aren't we forced to take business classes over at the business school too? This is the University of Georgia. They have a pretty good business school. Why aren't we required to take those? And it's just because this program was run by archaeologists. I'm not faulting them for it. Yeah. They just don't know. You know,
people. Oh, and you mean like more academic archaeologists?
All academic archaeologists, which is part of the reason why the program ended up getting shut down. They didn't even want to focus on it. They offered it because they knew that it was needed, but just wasn't their specialty. You know, they needed somebody in CRM. But then the problem is they're a full, regular, university, and their model is you need a PhD to do this. And how many PhD archaeologists are going to come back and teach? PhD CRM archaeologists. Well, first off, how many are there? Not that many.
True.
And how many of them are going to go back and teach in a CRM program? And then on top of that, how many of them have any business knowledge whatsoever and have any business teaching in that sort of environment? Yeah. Because we need business more than we need archaeology, I think. You need to learn some theory. Sure, go to the program, learn some theory. But as a business owner, as somebody going to this to be upper level, you need to... Quite frankly, I think you can learn the theory just on your own. Sure. We're smart. We do a lot of research. Do you need to agree that it says, I know freaking Bruce Trigger inside and out? Do you need that? No, you don't need that.
Yeah, you do.
Come on. We're going to read that anyway. We're a bunch of geeks. So acknowledge the fact that we're going to read that and focus on actually running a successful business instead.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget. So when you first became a project manager at that company we both worked for, how did they throw you, did you write proposals and then, come up with budgets?
I had been writing some proposals ahead of time before they made me a project manager. Yeah. I had been writing aspects of proposals. And then they made me a project manager and they gave me a few proposals to write, which basically they had everything templatized. So it wasn't that hard. You had to do your research and you had to, do some things to say, what are we going to do? And I never, at that level, and I don't know if it's because I was too new at doing it and they didn't want me doing it yet, or if I would have done it later, because I was laid off 3 months after they made me a project manager. But, and I was the first of a string of layoffs, and the company's now gone. But
I was one of the last.
Yeah, lucky. So, anyway, you jumped right before the bow went into the water, didn't you?
See?
Yeah. Anyway, it's they didn't have me doing any costing or anything like that. That was done by the PI, I think, or it might have been done by somebody else in the company because they had a full service accounting team and all that stuff down at the other office. So.
Just like we have a full service editing team we didn't use.
Oh my god. So stupid. The things that they spent money on, they just didn't focus right.
And you're forgetting a full service lab?
Oh my god. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that at all. So anyway, I think business needs to be a way heavier focus on all this stuff. And I think that if you're an undergrad and you happen to be listening to this, or you're interested in archaeology and you're going into a program this fall, or you've already started. Yeah. A lot of people, I've said for a long time that if somebody had told me ahead of time that apparently we're seeing a movie, I'm getting text messages.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If somebody had told me ahead of time, I keep saying I would have taken more geology courses in archaeology, right, when I was doing my undergrad. Yeah. Because we need to know a lot about geology, and that's true. That's absolutely true. But since archaeology is generally considered, and let's not sugarcoat this, it's generally considered an easy A as an undergrad. I mean, partly because we're passionate about it, and it's easy. I feel like it's easy to write at that level. When you get up into your senior level courses, that's when you're going to be doing some pretty heavy research papers and things like that, or you should be. So when you're just getting into this, if you're in your freshman, sophomore, even junior year, and you're looking at minors, I would suggest a geology minor, because you can take those in your electives. You can get that done pretty easily. And that'll give you at least a base knowledge of geology, and you'll understand soil development. You'll understand all kinds of stuff that quite frankly, most of us learned on the job.
True.
And then I would suggest getting a business minor. If you think you're going to do this as a career, do it now while you can just tack on courses and it doesn't cost you any extra money.
Yeah.
Because later on, you're going to find, oh, crap, I probably need a business degree, and it's going to cost you $30,000.
Yeah.
Get a business minor right now, and you'll be one step ahead of the game when you've got a few years under your belt as a field tech, and you go back, let's say you go back for your master's and it doesn't include anything like that, and then you come back out, or you're in the Great Basin and you've got enough experience, you can actually move up the project management ladder without a graduate degree in the Great Basin.
Yeah.
Rocky's one of those people. I mean, he's practically... Really? He's practically running the company. I'm not going to say that he is, because he's not. Stop. Yeah, Rocky runs a show and he knows it. But he's doing a lot of leadership and project management stuff, and doesn't have a graduate degree. Unless he went back. Rocky, you'll have to correct me on that. But that's just a good example of that you don't always need one.
True.
So don't always waste the money on getting one. If you're in a region that you like to work in, and they don't require that for permitting, then gain other skills and just move up the ladder anyway.
True.
You know?
And it doesn't just have to be business. Like, I know someone, a friend of mine, who really likes computers. So he's so he just tacked on, computer programming.
There you go.
Other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, how can we put this? What we're trying to say is that there's a bazillion people who just got their anthropology degree, and that's all they know. There's a bazillion. Literally, it's 90% of the people you are competing against. And if you literally just add one more thing, if you can say, oh, I've used Esri, I've used the various Esri programs and stuff like that, that literally gives you the biggest head up in this business.
Yeah.
We know someone in town who doesn't even have their GIS certificate, and yet when someone asked, hey, do you know how to use, Trimble or Trimble and stuff, he raised his hand, and now he's running a GIS department practically.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff you can do. We talk about GIS all the time as being the side gig that people can do, because you can actually learn it in your spare time and stuff like that. But
True.
As I mentioned in the first segment, learning how to fly drones. Drones are hot these days.
Yeah.
Honestly, podcasting, it's something you wouldn't even think of. If your company, especially if you're working for a bigger company that maybe wants to put some of their stuff out there. One of the things I learned at the podcast conference was you have to decide when you're doing a show does your podcast drive your website? And for an archaeology standpoint, that would mean bringing clients to your website to solicit for services. So does your podcast drive your website, or does your website drive your podcast? So is your podcast the thing that's monetized, or is your website the thing that's monetized? And for CRM firms, the website is the thing that's monetized. But the one thing the podcast can help you do is increase your visibility in the industry.
Yeah.
It can help you establish you as an expert, because people go to these CRM websites and they're looking for a project. They're looking for somebody to do their project. These websites are total bullshit. They've got pictures of people doing work. I know that. Yeah. They've got pictures. They've got little text lists of all the things that they can do. I know that. You wouldn't have a website if you couldn't do all those things. That's just like being in business. And then they've got a contact form. They're total BS, right? They give no information.
Oh my God! I don't know if you heard about this, but the GOP put up a picture of from a '90s television show. Let's say, I forgot what it was, but it was Margaret Cho's television show saying, "Oh my God, Asians support us." And it's dude, it was literally just a cast photo.
Right.
Speaking of BS.
Nice. Well, that's what I'm talking about. People don't refresh their websites. They don't do anything. So they're total BS. You don't learn anything. But if somebody went to your website, and there's a whole list of podcasts that are available there, and you can put them on iTunes, or you can just put them on your website, whatever you want to do. But there's a whole list of things there that say, with catchy titles like understanding the Section 106 process, or other stuff like that. So these clients that are vaguely aware of this stuff, they can be like, oh, so these people are not just an archaeology company, but they're really they're industry leaders. Yeah. They're experts in the field. They're concerned with knowing these things. So what I'm saying this for is, obviously the Archaeology Podcast Network could help you develop something like that. But if you have somebody on staff that knows how to do these things, or is willing to take a course and learn, I'm going to be teaching a course on that, but there's others online. Yeah. Then you can set yourself up with your own podcast, and that would almost be a job within the company that, as we're going to find out on episode 119 of the CRM podcast, which we're going to record in 2 weeks. It'll be out at the end of September. talking about.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is that the same episode? Yeah, they're talking about positions basically. Well, we're going to be breaking down the billable rates for things on one of our coming shows. I can't remember which one that is, so I won't forget that number I just said. But we're going to be breaking down the billable rates. What does a billable rate actually mean? And a lot of overhead is involved in that billable rate. This would fall under the category of overhead, but if it brings in more business, that's what it's there for. You know, right now, the only thing that brings in business is typically word of mouth or the PI searching various job posting sites, not job posting, but project posting sites like RFQ sites and stuff like that. And
how many people have gotten angry over billable rates? Like, you're charging X number of dollars for me, and you're only paying me this much.
I exactly said that in the last show.
And because it makes me think about that, because I work at a bookstore, and we buy books as well. And so I'm like, we sell books for $2, and people bring in their books like, oh, good, so you can give me $2. It's like, that's not the way capitalism works.
Yeah, we need to make money.
So you're gonna give me a $1.95? Like, no, we're not gonna give you $1.95 and sell it for $2. Like, you don't quite understand how this works.
You don't work for a nickel an hour. Yeah.
Oh man, if only I bet there are plenty of business owners who would wish for that.
Yeah, probably. So, I mean, the whole point, and again, we're going to deep dive into this on the CRM Archaeology podcast in the next month or so, but probably episode 119 or 120, we'll guarantee that, unless another Charlottesville happens and we have to preempt another episode to talk about that. But anyway, breaking that down, just as a real quick example, if you're making $20 an hour and you're billing at $60 an hour, which is a common billable rate, increase, the company is probably only making $5-10 on you per hour. That's all they're making. That's what they're putting in the bank. Everything else is paying for the building, paying for the accountants, paying your taxes.
Paying for the crew trucks.
Paying for the trucks, paying for all kinds of stuff. Now, some stuff is parsed out and paid for by client money. Yeah. Which could factor into the trucks, actually.
Oh.
Because you pay for, like, even if you own your trucks, whether you're renting or owning or own outright, like, how many bills on them.
Yeah.
The trucks are still billed for in the project. I bill $115 a day for my truck, which I own.
Just gave it a thumbs up.
So
thank you.
Nice. Yeah, I bill $115 a day for my truck, which is a fairly standard rate that I've noticed.
Really?
And even if I'm renting or if I'm using my own truck, that's what I bill, because I don't charge mileage. So you can do mileage if you do it at the federal mileage rate, and maybe a project will require you to do that. But if they don't, I just do a daily rate because it's easier for me to do accounting from an accounting standpoint. If I had a whole accounting team, they'd probably tell me a completely different way to do it. But I don't, so I do it the easy way. And that $115 goes towards paying for everything associated with that truck: insurance, maintenance, the payment, the mortgage, the monthly payment on it, stuff like that. So all the flat tires we get, all that stuff's paid for. I mean, a tire on that truck is over $100. So the $115 a day just barely covers the tire.
You don't even use the Kevlar ones.
I really should, because that's part of being efficient and doing the right thing.
True. Like, I remember, I don't know, the company you work for on the Ruby pipeline did it, but the company I worked for would take their rentals and bought all like Kevlar line tires and put the rental tires in at the office.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if they still have like a whole storage unit full of like Kevlar tires, but who knows?
I don't know. It's kind of the way to do it, I've seen companies like what you're saying. They'll take that get rentals all the time, and they have a storage unit full of wheels with various bolt patterns and tires. And then when they get the rental, they instantly change out all the tires. Oh. And then when they give the rental back, they put the rental tires back on.
Oh, or alternatively, at the company we used to work for, we would get, those bald spare tires?
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah, I never buy used tires. Yeah. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit more about what I did this week with Podcast Movement, the conference. Just learned so much that is actually translatable to archaeology.
Really?
They had stuff on networking, which I'm pretty familiar with a lot of that stuff. A lot of people weren't, though, and it's good information to hear.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, people come to these things and they've never done anything like that before. They've lived in a bubble their whole lives. They've lived in a certain environment. They haven't had to network. I mean, think about it. You get people out of high school. They might go into college, and then maybe out of college they go into a job, and they've had this job for 15 years.
Yeah.
And in the case of Podcast Movement, you had a lot of people there that they're not coming there with the intent of monetizing their podcast immediately. Like, they have other jobs, right? They took a week's vacation to come out to this conference. They have other jobs, so eventually their podcast might take over for their income, which would be great, and then they could just do that. But
oh my god, this thought just struck me, by the way, not to interrupt your flow, but SAA panel on networking.
I mean, I feel like that stuff already exists, doesn't it? We need more SAA panels on technical skills.
Yes. I've never seen one on networking.
Yeah.
At least at any of the ones I've gone to.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen little workshops and stuff that are focused on those things, but I feel like you're totally right. I was thinking about this actually the other day. We need full SAA panels on all kinds of different things. I want to do one on we've had them on like podcasting and blogging and stuff before, but that's really more the impact that your podcast or blog has on your audience in your field. But how about just technical how to do it?
Yeah, or like, like resume writing.
Yeah.
Or, what to send in. I mean, God, I literally had to figure all that stuff out on my own.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and through, like, reading books.
Right.
Like Bill White's book.
I know. Yeah. So, we need more stuff on communicating your message, communicating your ideas, things like that. We have some on public archaeology, which I've heard, where people focus on, it's kind of a backdoor way into saying that. It's not really a training session, but it's people going up and saying how they've done public archaeology events and gotten their message out there and gotten information out there, which in a way is training. Oh. But I want more specific information.
Oh, like what?
Well, I want a workshop that's basically like, we have too many formats for the SAAs that are just, or too many sessions that are just 15 minutes papers, here do this one, this one, this one, and this one. But I would rather take that 4-hour time slot and instead of doing papers, which is stupid, and just doing, have a whole training session.
Yes.
We just don't have enough of that stuff. Like here's your public archaeology guide. We could have the Project Archaeology people do it or something like that, and say, hey, this is a how-to guide on how to do this. We all know we should do it. I don't need to go to more sessions that say you should be doing outreach. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
That's not a secret. It's it's part of the ethics statement in the SAAs, for Christ's sake.
And one of the main problems is getting students to attend something like that, because how many of them look at that and immediately go, I'd rather go see like Mayan archaeology and stuff like that.
Right. And the problem with those sessions are, those Mayan ones and paleo sessions, they're always super popular, but I feel like people aren't going there to learn anything. The people that go to these sessions, myself included, have already drunk the Kool-Aid. They're not going to learn anything new. They probably know the people that are presenting. I mean, everybody goes and says, how many times do you get a conference and you're like, oh, I've got to go to this one because it's a friend of mine?
Yes, all of them. Well, at least for me.
I just paid $1,000 to get here. I'll listen to you on Facebook rant about your project. I'm not going to go spend my time listening to you just regurgitate a paper that I've heard you say 1,000 times.
True, or like heard you talk about in the bar.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
I would rather have a bar conversation with you about it. I want to see you read a paper.
Yeah. Ooh, well, but that's like what I'm talking about. It's like how many students don't realize that they should be going there to get something out of it and not just going because they think, well, I am just there, therefore, ergo, I, am like getting some benefit out of it. They don't realize that you should be talking to people. You should be going to these little workshops to learn how to do stuff. My
very first SAA was St. Louis.
Oh, really?
And I didn't talk to a single person.
Oh, really?
I went there, and I'm so anal with my schedule. I had every 15-minute block of time planned out. I was bouncing between rooms. That's when I realized that they're never on time. Like 3 papers into the session, they're already off. And so I spent the whole time not really figuring that out. And I would leave a paper, and I would miss the first 5 minutes of every single one I went to because they were off, or I'd miss it entirely. And
wow, that's completely different than my first SAAs.
Oh my God, that was my first one. I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't gone as a field tech. I was in grad school. In fact, I was near the end of grad school when I first went.
Yeah.
And I had just never made time to go to the SAAs before, and didn't know what it was all about. I've been to almost every one since then.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
because, for my first SAAs, I hardly went to any of the lectures. I was basically walking the halls, running into people hey, where you working? What's going on?
Right.
Stuff like that. And then I would go to the bars and the parties. It's what's going on? Do you know if anyone's hiring? Are there any projects that might be coming down the pipeline? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to... Well, I guess I shouldn't say you're supposed to be there for that, but if you if you're there for more than just learning, that's what you should be there for. Figure out what's going on.
Okay, speaking of figuring out what's going on, I didn't realize I had it on Rocky's question, but there's other ones down below that.
What?
So let's get to those.
Oh, do it.
Let's take a break real fast because you're going to have to go to work soon.
Oh, I know.
We'll take a break real fast, and I'm only going to say is coffee mugs. APN, arcpodnet.com/shop. They're fantastic.
True.
They're $16. I'll ship it to you right now. I've got 30 of them sitting upstairs, and they're really awesome. Get your
wait, you
stickers
had
while you're
more.
at it.
So basically you sold some. Or am I wrong?
Nah, I'm just rounding down. I
Oh,
got
right.
36 total, and I gave you one. I've got 2 I'm using myself, one at home and one here. Well, there's 33 technically, if you want to get technical about it. I've got to send some to my pro subscribers too.
Ooh, will these be the only 33 you ever run up?
No, I will get more.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get more designs too.
Because I was going to do like a limited run t-shirt as soon as I dream it up.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so Rocky mentioned, and he's totally right,
Yeah.
maybe APN needs a special series on the business of CRM.
We do.
Writing a scope of work, cost estimate, and contracts. Well, we don't have a specific podcast on that, though.
Ooh, but
Yeah.
but that could be something for your pro members.
Well, we will have trainings on that for sure, but I think a more generalized discussion focused around the business of CRM would be a decent, almost like monthly show or something.
It's interesting. That's actually, explaining Section 106 is still my most popular video on Happy Archaeology Fun
Yeah.
Time.
There
It
you go.
literally is. It's like, it's one of it. Oh my god, it gets like 10 times the views of anything else because
That's awesome.
because there's such a dearth of information about what CRM archaeology is or what we do.
They're just there to see me, you know that, right? They're just there to see me, you know that, right? They're
Fine.
just like, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. All right, so Sonia joined us. Sonia Hoopmacher Cunningham. She's on the CRM Archaeology podcast. We just spent the whole morning talking about lowballing and business, and it's great. And Sonia's big on she comments a lot on some of the groups on Facebook, so it has a lot of good information.
Ooh.
She says that most states are limited to one CRM-focused archaeology program at one school, and
True.
I'd like to see the metrics on that because that's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably. I mean, states like California might have more than one.
They do.
But but the question is one good one. I don't know. I'm going to get through some of these questions here.
Yeah.
Rocky says taking a grad special. Geoarchaeology this semester. Oh, he's taking a geoarchaeology class this semester. No graduate degree yet. Sweet. But Rocky's killing it, man. Rocky's always learning.
Yeah.
Rocky's doing everything right. He's always reading. He's always doing something to further his skills.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need a graduate degree to do that. Now,
No.
he understands, if he's taking a geoarchaeology class this semester, he's made the determination that that's not something he can probably read about and understand on his own because it's a complicated topic.
True.
So going to a formal setting like that and taking the class is actually probably a really smart thing.
True.
Now, it doesn't say here, he's not going necessarily for a graduate degree, probably just taking the class.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Just take
Oh.
the class. And it'd be really good if you had like the winter off and you were near a school that had maybe trimesters if they still do that.
Oh.
You could take like a winter course, so
most schools do that.
yeah, so
I mean, but it's also like if you're a field tech and don't just sit there on the couch and drink beer. I taught myself something every winter. Like I taught myself how to video edit. I taught myself how to do the graphic design, which is like, here on this. I taught myself how to do live streaming. I taught all sorts of things.
I would say plan your winters. We're going to have some special stuff on this coming up on CRM our podcast,
Ooh,
hopefully.
really?
But I would say plan your winter out and know.
Yeah.
Even if you end up working, you can just push your plan off. But if you think that if you're in a region where you probably won't be working, just write down a list of things and plan out how you're going to do these. Don't just write down a list, but say for this I need to go here and do this. I need to get this materials, something, and figure out what you want to learn, and maybe do 2 or 3 things. Don't overdo it. And if you run through those while you're off and you have the time and the money to do more, then pick more.
True.
Don't list 10 things out and then get overwhelmed by your choices and and then end up not doing anything.
And we're not saying like it always has to be practical. Like if you want
Right.
if you want to buy a typewriter and be all existential and sit in a coffee shop,
Right.
and look super super hipster, then maybe that's your thing for the winter.
That's right. By the way, we were at a party last night of my wife's coworker's house, and she had sitting on one of her shelves an old looking Underwood typewriter, and I instantly thought of you.
Oh my god, I've actually got one in the living room with a typewriter stand, and it's the one that I actually wrote out a whole bunch of college papers on.
Nice.
I'm not even joking.
I figured as much. Yeah. Sonia says a business of CRM podcast would be a great idea. I totally agree. We'll have to start lining that out.
Ooh. It doesn't even have to be like complicated or like an hour. It could be just like, what is an RFQ? Or the little things.
Right.
Because you were just thrown in the deep end when you were made a project manager, I assume.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I had already demonstrated some ability and desire to do that.
Yeah.
So that's good. I think you're thrown into the deep end on crew chief a lot. Sometimes that's just by attrition, like somebody didn't show up or somebody got fired, and all of a sudden you're the crew chief.
Oh my god, almost like being a Klingon. Klingon captain.
Oh my, right. So it's almost to that point, I think, in archaeology.
But totally is.
Well, I feel like project managers and project archaeologists, different definitions for these things. That's one that a little more thought is usually put into, and,
Really?
one of the big reasons for that is it's often a step up in a company from hourly to salary.
True.
From temporary-ish employee to semi-permanent employee. I'm not gonna say permanent because nobody's permanent unless you own the company.
No.
So, yeah, I think that's usually a step up. So a little bit more thought is put into that from the leadership, and so they can figure that out. But yeah, it's about time, isn't it?
Maybe, but I mean, what was I thinking? Yeah. Okay.
Well, are there any questions? If anybody's got any questions in the last 2-3 minutes we're on here, feel free to put them in. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah.
This has been really good. And Richie's going to put up our screen right now for all the things that we want you to check us out on.
Yeah.
And